When the kid wakes up, his world's still in
I mean, again, what indigestion does to a motherfucker, I guess.
Jesus Christ, that is some of the worst indigestion if it induces hallucinations.
And I still don't have enough experience points to upgrade a musket, god damn it.
Back to hallucinating.
Maybe the true reality is the real hallucination or some shit like that, I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe the true friends were the true drugs we took along the way.
Yeah, I mean, but on an unrated note, let's get some booze.
Yes, of course, that's what'll help us with this drug problem. Alcohol!
It's only a problem when I run out.
That hangover might actually legit kill you with the pain at that point.
It's full the bull brandy, yes, general resistance. Oh, someone's playing Hollow Knight.
Feel as tough as knife bark.
Cool. Anyway, just to mention quickly, something that you were saying, tied to what you were saying before in the previous part about The Last of Us, Jova, it's kind of funny, because when everything tied to the second game happened, and a lot of people were kind of shocked about it, I was like, guys, did you not really pay attention? Have you seen how the first game starts? Neil was kind of always this messed up in portraying violence because of, being inspired by Cormac McCarthy.
I think the difference was that Last of Us 1, as we've established, had a lot of people pushing back on some of Neil's more dumber ideas. Like, the whole, we're tracking after Joel for revenge? Yeah, originally that was supposed to be a plot point in the first game, but I think it was Bruce Straley who told him, Neil, that wouldn't make sense. Like, for somebody to prioritize vengeance over, survival in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Oh, somebody stays playing Balatro.
It's like, we got shit to worry about.
Again, for me, it's always been how kind of tasteless the portrayal of how Joel's daughter died at the beginning of the first game always has been. Again, I really no secret, but I'm not particularly fond of child characters being used as, devices to propel someone else, even if they've been fairly common and more acceptable than regular fridging. And I know that there is still an art in actually still trying to tie the loss of someone or something to someone else. Again, we've seen stuff, for example, like beginning of Xenogears, where Faye destroys his own entire hometown, including his potential love interest, quote unquote. But I argue there was more to it than just being too gratuitous. While the first of The Last of Us almost has everything that I don't like about the modern gaming industry going on. The game David cages you in order to make you slowly walk instead of actually being also a cutscene in order to look around. It takes its sweet ass time, so there's still very minimal interaction. It's cool that you get to see the outbreak happening under your very eyes, which is not something super common for a zombie game. And then it just concludes with the cheap killing to showcase, grr, the military is actually evil, be sad,
Like, I overall still appreciate Last of Us 1 and its narrative. I won't deny, though, that there are definitely glimpses of how bad it could have gotten, and Last of Us 2 really shows that, Neil Druckmann was not the whiz at writing a lot of people thought he was.
But hey, I guess the remastered edition has Ellie wearing a shirt with the Chimera from Resistance, so I guess it's okay.
They really did that, Jesus.
I mean, it's something that referenced Resistance more than Astrobot did. That's actually kind of messed up.
It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of Resistance, but yeah, that was kind of a bit of a weird omission.
Like, the devs did mention that they had a reason for not referencing something like, say, Twisted Metal, because they genuinely believed that someone Sweet Tooth would have felt, too not violent, but potentially to scale in appearance of what it was, a children's game. And I already mentioned how they could have easily circumvented the whole thing with different characters that Twisted Metal has. They could have used gone with.
Resistance was so bland and boring that even the people that made it forgot they made it.
Insomniac has referenced it, a couple of times, not as much. If you paid attention, Leaves, in the 2016 Ratchet and Clank Reimagining, when Ratchet and Clank enters Big Al's, tool shop and everything, they have a couple of posters. One of them references Pyro Volping with the Moose character, and another the first Resistance. So there is that.
Everything we've learned about the development behind Resistance seems to suggest that Insomniac don't necessarily have any hard feelings for it, but it was definitely more on the executively mandated
Especially because,
branch
remember, the first game was supposed to at one point be very different, much more similar to Halo and involving time travel, hence why the idea of having, the main character, Nathan Hale, being a soldier from World War II that will actually travel through space in different locales. A bit similar to games like Prey 2006 that were going to be released around the same time roughly, but along the way something changed that led them, have a more Medal of Honor with aliens kind of approach, which then got altered even more.
Here's the main difference between Insomniac and Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog, for the most part, seems to have willingly stepped into the more realistic-looking stuff with stuff like Uncharted or Last of Us. That at least seems to have been what the present team wanted to do. Insomniac, I get the inkling that Resistance was not what they wanted to do. Mind you, they didn't like going kicking and screaming, they worked with it. But it seems like for the most part, not saying that they're completely averse to realistic stuff, but I always did get the inkling that, they would have probably rather have done Ratchet and Clank than Resistance stuff. And hey, they still did manage to get some Ratchet and Clank stuff in there.
And showcased by the recent Spider-Man games, again, just mentioning Spider-Man 2, because I argue 1 and Miles Morales were more okay on this aspect. Judging by Spider-Man 2, they kind of lost their touch into making, realistic-looking people, because holy uncanny valley, Batman.
It really, I have to wonder if it was about a crunch, because Insomniac usually are on top of that stuff. Again, even if realism wasn't what they wanted to do, they, made it look good for the most part.
Again, it's so weird. Anyway, hold on, let me mention this. New weapon, the Gallium Mortar. Yes, you're packing a fucking war siege weapon.
A cannon from a ship, basically.
You just need to hold your fire, wait for the reticule to appear in the approximation of the target, and, fire at will. Boop.
Exactly what I expect from my westerns, a literal cannon.
You think they will give you like a Gatling gun, because that was considered the BFG of the time, but surprisingly no.
Huh.
Wow, so between this and Bloodborne, I can't have shit, can I?
Sorry, Shiri. You probably will have a better time with the shooter that LucasArts made, which recently got a remaster, Outlaws. You might also like that, Jova, because it's a very traditional type of Western story, Speaking of revenge for having, people around you being killed, protagonist gets his wife killed and his child kidnapped, so he goes on a revenge to actually get her back. Classic.
I just want a Gatling gun because it's cool.
And in that game, that's your BFG, basically. So, yeah.
Ah, there you go, Shirai.
It's also one of the few LucasArts properties at the time who I don't think contains a single Star Wars reference, which is very, very restraining.
Especially since it was made in 1997.
They were being held at gunpoint, so not add any.
It has a 7 Max reference in it, so you can rest assured you're a fan of them.
And yeah, you're right. That remaster did come out just last year on November 20th.
Thanks to Night Dive, yes. So again, we've been specialized into trying to make mod ports, more efficient ports for these old-ass shooters with more or less degrees of success. But at least I appreciate the attempt. And again, it's also sportive the fact that they are technically a company that has been, sorry, a studio that has been acquired by modern Atari, but the publisher does allow them to work with different people in order to, you know, produce these kind of remasters without, you know, being compromised, which is appreciated.
That does sound like a good outcome, all things considered.
Again, although sometimes we just pick choices that I would question, and when they somehow still manage to make them work in some fashion, like when remastering the video game adaptation sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. I didn't mention that when we commented on the movie, but let me put it this way, the original release of that video game was terrible, you know, borderline unplayable. There was a reason why it was one of Spoonie's most non-Final Fantasy known videos before the Ultimate Retrospective. Night Dive did mention to work around most of the kinks, so the end result is actually more playable, but at the end of the day, you're better to just, you know, look a let's play of it if you want. Also, double Victory Bell boss fight. Goody.
Beautiful.
Well, keep in mind, I can just leave if I want, but you know, I could get extra experience points from the thing. Yeah?
So I'm guessing we're basically at the stage of the game where we're seeing, you know, boss reduxes.
Yeah, pretty much. Although you will have still a couple of surprises, basically. You'll be able to see. I don't remember if it already in this part or in the next, but you'll be able to see because let's just say that there's a reason why you know, Zulf still has left and we haven't seen him yet.
What's a shame again. He started off as apparently our friend, but now I wonder if he might be a traitor.
And for
and
what
now
reason, you know.
And again, since he and Zia are both Ura, we have to wonder if she's compromised too. Like, is there anyone we can trust here?
We'll all be better off
We'll see.
once the Bastion is complete.
For now, let's just put the shard in.
The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though.
Alright, let's see what building can I also upgrade. Well, also I need... yeah, let's get more pools.
Crack open the distillery's private reserve.
Oh lord, this reminds me of back in the Resident Evil 7 days where everyone was joking that all you needed to do to heal any wound was alcohol poured on there.
Yeah. Well, the solution that Ethan is carrying around feels more like, you know, medical alcohol or ethanol, pardon the pun, rather than just, you know, booze.
True. And admittedly, in hindsight, knowing what we do now from Resident Evil 8, it does make some sense.
To quote Awaria, do not drink, you know, medical alcohol, you will die.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's the game that the creator of, God, I forgot the name, Helltaker made afterward. The creator thought it would have been an experience that would have taken only a few months, and instead it ended up taking a few years. But and the game still was released for free. God damn.
Wow.
Yeah, although, if I recall correctly, there is like a donation or, you know, I mean, something that you can actually donate to the creator anyway. So, at the very least, there's that.
City. Its riches nothing but fragments now.
Yeah, I was just checking how close I was to completion with some others.
I like how that board makes them look like a bunch of bounties, even though most people are dead.
It kind of is like an equivalent to that, as the narrator.
That's the thing, Joe.
Gone.
That's the thing, Joe. Around here, that term is a different meaning. So wait, the sky's after a bunch of chocolate bars.
Cute.
Remind me, Dweebs, because I remember hearing that term for, you know, the chocolate bar. Isn't it the one flavored with coconut, I think?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I'm not the biggest fan of that one myself.
Me neither.
Ain't never been this
but I know its existence. Alright, let's get to the proving ground of a mortar, our mortar weapon.
We'll force feed them bounty bars.
Yummers. So, the trick is that in this case you have a bunch of squares moving around, and you need to use the mortar to kill all of them with the least amount of shots, basically. It's not as easy as it looks, because they move constantly.
Choosing targets with those mortars.
The trick is ideally to wait until the specific ones that move actually are in the decent spot, so you can get, you know, as much of them as possible with a single shot.
The mortars in tip-top shape.
There you go. But to be fair, I arrived second, so you know, might as well.
Too bad about the armada, but at least one of those mortars survived.
Yeah, I guess.
Good to know. Okay, kid, it's nighttime. Maybe now we can just take a rest?
No, I need to power up my
No.
weapons, I guess.
You're playing a video game. There is no rest.
Well, depends.
Lots of video games have rest cycles these days.
Like RPGs and all. However, next part, if I recall correctly, will go instead into the local mines of Selondia, so see you for that.
Fun times ahead. See you then.
Bye.